Please welcome to the stage Andrew Bosworth, CTO and head of Reality Labs.
All right. Welcome to the developer keynote. This is our 11th year coming together at Connect. And we try to get a photo of all of you every year. This year we'll do it a little differently. Everyone just smile, please. All right, now with that done, I'm starting to kick this thing off. Now this section is dedicated to those of you who have been pioneering this space with us. And in that spirit, I would like to start with an apology. We have not made it easy to develop for our platforms. And I want you to know that we know that, and that we're very sorry. You see, over the last decade, the ecosystems we're all building have been in constant state of change. The people in this room right now have been on the front lines of this, so you know better than anyone else. We've got a bunch of AI developers with us today, and a whole lot of Quest developers. And it might be that the thing that you all have the most in common is that the ground has been constantly shifting under your feet for years now. Change like this can be exciting, right? It's an inevitable part of building new technologies. And it creates a lot of new opportunities, which you've all been wise enough to jump on. But of course, it can also be incredibly messy. And we know it's been a tough ride for developers over the last couple of years. So for the last year, we've really put in a ton of work that we think is going to make your lives a whole lot easier. And we're going to keep sustaining this focus for years to come. Now, so today you're going to hear all about it. First, we're going to talk about how we're making it easier to build for Meta Horizon OS, and then building with all of our open source AI tools. On Horizon OS, the fundamental capabilities of our hardware have obviously shifted every few years. And we think we've been through basically 3 major eras over just the last decade. When we first began working on this with the Oculus Rift, the headset was basically a high-end peripheral for a gaming PC. Now, it was a revolutionary device that really inspired us and showed us what was possible with VR. But of course, the limitations of being tethered to a computer were pretty obvious. So the second era was about getting it all working in a standalone platform. And this is what Quest has been all about, building out something that can scale to millions and tens of millions of devices that can find a place in people's lives. And I think we've entered the third era of mixed reality with Quest 3. Getting really good, high-resolution mixed reality with enough compute to take advantage of it was really the missing piece that makes this system so much more approachable to so many more people. And with the Quest 3S, we expect another huge influx of people joining the ecosystem. So with the way that MR has landed, we now have this stable hardware architecture to build on. To be clear, there's still plenty of innovation to come, but things like face tracking and eye tracking, or better displays, or better form factor, they don't fundamentally alter the core platform. And that means that we can expect stability for generations to come. And that stability means software side can improve at a much faster rate. And we can invest much more in infrastructure, trusting that those investments will stand the test of time, and that those gains will start to compound, benefiting everyone at the application layer. So we now have this core hardware platform for the metaverse, which means we can spend all of our energy focusing on an operating system for the metaverse. And you'll be hearing all about that from my colleagues Mark and Igerim in a minute. And then you'll hear from Chris and Rashad about AI, which is probably the only ecosystem that has been on an even wilder ride than VR the last couple of years. For years now, the AI race has been all about building the frontier models. But we're now in actually a much more exciting period as developers are racing to build AI-native products that become part of people's lives. The full stack of technologies needed to work with AI is really starting to take shape. Internally at Meta, our work in AI went from really exploring what was possible to getting it into all of our products as quickly as possible and making it matter for billions of people. And those are 2 very different challenges, and I think you're seeing the whole industry make that shift. We have learned a lot from deploying Meta AI at scale and figuring out where it fits in our products. And because of the Llama ecosystem, we have a tremendous feedback loop from developers who are in the same place. And this is part of our larger shift of how we're approaching AI across Meta. We've moved from discovering what state-of-the-art models are capable of to building out full families of models for every use case. And mixed reality is no exception, by the way. We think about how helpful it would be for creators to be able to describe the worlds they imagine in language and have them come to life. And you'll see more about that soon. But whether you're using mixed reality or not, we're building out the full stack of tooling that developers need to deploy AI applications and a whole ecosystem of partners to deploy the Llama stack. And that's a big shift for the whole Llama ecosystem, and I believe it will be a big turning point for open source AI. So now I'll hand it over to the people making all this work come to life in AI and the metaverse, starting with Mark to talk about Meta Horizon OS. Thank you.
Welcome to Horizon OS. We're building the first ever platform that truly combines 2D apps and the immersive 3D experiences that you can only get in a headset. And not just one mode at a time, but together, with 2D apps running inside virtual and mixed reality worlds. That's the traditional running inside the new. Imagine whipping out your Instagram app to take pics during your boss fight in Asgard's Wrath. Or pin a TV full of your favorite media apps to the wall in either your virtual Metaverse Horizon home or a wall in your home office. Now, it's never been done. But in this, the third era of our platform, we're doing it. Because this metaverse, it's better with apps. And to make it a reality, well, we have to make it so easy for developers to build pretty much every kind of software there is. 3D games? Yep. Mobile-style apps running inside 2D screens? Yes. Social metaverse worlds? You betcha. And novel spatial widgets, PC-linked professional experiences, all working together. So this is such a great time to be or become a Horizon OS developer. Why? Well, to start, our third era is a stable era. Thank you, Three Body fans. Both headsets, they support the same mixed reality, same performance, so this is now our baseline that you can depend on for all future devices. And this ecosystem, it's surging. We declared our open store 5 months ago in April. And since then, I'm proud to say, we have 10 times more apps in the Meta Horizon store. And we're getting huge titles: Batman Arkham Shadow, Metro Awakening, Prime Video, Amazon Music, Twitch, Spotify, so much more. Gorilla Tag just announced they crossed $100 million in revenue. And yet, in just a few short, anxious weeks, this ecosystem is about to get even bigger. Much bigger. All the innovation, performance, mixed reality of Quest 3, 100% compatible at this price that made Quest 2 the biggest hit in the whole industry. Buckle up. And then buckle up even more, because people are flocking to the mixed reality experiences in Quest. We dramatically improved how spatial panels work in Horizon OS. You can put any app anywhere. You hear spatial audio coming from it that's natural within your room. Grow it into a giant theater screen with Dolby Atmos, dimmable environments. Can multitask up to 6 apps right now. And you can pull up an app while you're in any immersive app. And now, more than half of people in the Quest ecosystem use browsers or 2D screens. And if we look at the mixed reality Quest 3, that number is well over 60%. Those numbers were just unthinkable a couple years ago. But even with this massive growth in content, in apps, in MR features, what people are still clamoring for and telling us they need is 10 times more content, more things to do. And this is now our primary focus, to help all of you developers build more faster. So we spent the whole last year collecting your top developer pain points, your roadblocks, your frustrations, your snark, and your top demands. My threads are open to you, please. Keep it coming. And then we doubled our platform investment, and we looked at the feedback. We shipped as much of it this year as we could. So let's get into the big news. First, Horizon OS, it's now open for mobile-style development. We know that developing with traditional immersive game engines, it's so powerful. But we have to admit it's a little bit esoteric. And you have to create so much for every app. You're building environments, you're building physics, you're building every button your characters are going to push, and more. And fundamentally, there's just not that many people in the world who know how to do it. So today I'm pleased to announce that if you can build for Android, you can build for Meta Horizon OS in your favorite language, your favorite IDE. And to get all of you just in there, we have completed the open store transition we started in April. App Lab is done. Everything is migrated, and starting today, our open store, it fully welcomes 2D and spatial apps. So get your submissions ready. At long last, we have finally cured curation. Every app, 2D, 3D, it's all in one store, discoverable. And to help you build these amazing new apps, we're launching a whole new way to build spatial experiences for Meta Horizon OS. That's the Meta Spatial SDK. It lets you take your normal mobile app and just break out of flatland, get out of the rectangle. You can add native spatial features like floating interactive 3D objects, take over with 3D environments, add atmospherics, play immersive media, and so much more. And we also have a new Meta Spatial editor, which helps you turn your 3D assets into compositions, all without any coding. For example, we used Meta Spatial SDK, and it made it so easy to add 3D panoramas and 3D spatial videos in our media viewer in the system. And for a lot more examples, check out our showcase apps that are available in the store right now. They're fully open source. And then, even for all the apps without Spatial SDK, we made all the fancy panel features, that's resizing, theater, spatial audio, background running, multitasking, handling all the hand and controller input. We made all of that fully available to all 2D apps by default. So you get all that spatialness of Meta Horizon OS just for free. This is a brand new way to build on our platform. So we tested it ourselves and with partners just to prove that it's real. And as Mark showed in the last few months, the Instagram and Facebook teams, they were able to build brand new Instagram and Facebook apps from scratch with small teams in one summer and familiar tools, React Native, we love it, Android. There is scrolling with joysticks through media. There is special frosted glass transparency effects. These apps just feel great in Quest. But it's not just us. This path worked for our partners, too. Amazon, over the same summer, was able to port their Prime Video, Amazon Music, and Twitch apps and just plug them in to our spatial system. And I've been saving Season 2, Rings of Power, for this day because these apps all come out today. Now, the work to port these, it proved that it's not free to get your app into Horizon OS if it already exists, but porting it is so rapidly doable. And our goal is to make it so much more plug and play by adding new SDKs, new adapter layers to help you go faster. And we really welcome your feedback on what you need to do that. My earnest hope is that this reduces tenfold the cost to land something amazing in the headset, while increasing tenfold how many developers out there have a skills and ability to take a shot at it. But do you need an even easier way to get your toes in the water? Does app development just get you down? Do you have native app-itis? Well, we have something for that. Our improvements to browser and WebXR bring all that spatial goodness to the open web. These web-based, thank you. These web-based experiences do everything, and they just feel so good in the headset. Take Spotify. It has background audio. It multitasks on top of any other app. It's web-based. It has a separate system volume control. So step into your backyard, drop down an easel from your favorite VR painting app that's not really there, open up Spotify. Is this an immersive app in mixed reality mode with a web-based panel app composited by Horizon OS onto your view? No. It's just blissful and chill. Now, Wordle from New York Times Games. It's super fun as a mixed reality PWA. That's a progressive web app. This lets you take your web package. It gets the full app treatment in our store. Discovery, library, in-app payments, everything. So between Android-style development and web-based, if you're a developer of pretty much any kind, you probably have the skills today to be a Horizon OS developer. Now, for the stalwarts, the XR devs, those of you who have been with us through generations and generations building up this platform, let me hear you. We have great stuff for you, red meat for the base, if you will. After opening our store, you made it clear you wanted that. Our focus is threefold. One, performance. This is a standalone device. We have to work hard to make things look good. Two, speed. Iterating on the device is slower than other platforms. We have to get faster at iteration. And three, access. You want more access to the new age mixed reality magic of the headset. So, on performance, we just landed 10% more GPU for all content via OS optimization. Batman Arkham Shadow uses this. It looks unbelievable. There's also multiple engine-specific wins of up to 10% GPU we landed in both Unity and Unreal to help all of you make those graphics even more stunning. It's so important. On Unity, MetaQuest devices are fully Unity 6 ready. You can use all of that when it comes. And our new caching improvements make building for large projects up to 90% faster. And we're up to 30 building blocks for drag and drop project setup, which is very popular. Building blocks fans, I see you. For Unreal, we now support the full interaction SDK, so you can do hands, gestures, everything. And cook on the fly improvements, we're seeing 2 times faster iteration in our internal benchmarks, and it's coming soon. And by the way, while we're talking build times and iteration, here's the worst part of being an MR developer: spending half your day with your headset half on your head. Your poor forehead, your poor hair. Well, fret not. With big improvements to our Meta XR simulator and utility kit, so many more changes are testable right on your computer. We have full 6DoF controller support connecting to the PC. We have simulated rooms for mixed reality, so you can test different scenes. We have full Mac support in the simulator, and so much more. And finally, the deep MR access you've been looking for. There is Depth API with recent upgrades, you can now do dynamic, believable occlusions with much, much lower latency. Scene size. You can make experiences up to 2,000 square feet. And no more one-room limit, 15 rooms. When the zombie invasion comes, the hallway is no longer a safe space. Interaction SDK. We're launching micro-gestures, whole new hand input modality, little scrolls, swipes, clicks, all on your hand. If you want to add hands to your game or app, but you need locomotion, this may be the first ever good solution. And we wanted to enable you to take a shot, so we have full open XR support. So if you build this on Horizon OS, you want to take that show on the road to other platforms, you can. And now, finally, something so many developers have been asking us for. We have a camera pass-through API coming early next year. This will enable all kinds of cutting-edge MR experiences. You got tracked objects, AI applications, fancy overlays, scene understanding, so much more. Testing very soon. Some of you have been blowing up bosses in my socials on this almost every week. So now you better build something great. You know who you are. Now, to tie all this new goodness together, and frankly, to fix the very scattered documentation we've accumulated over 3 long eras, today we're relaunching a fully redesigned Meta Horizon Dev Center. Biggest wins are fully overhauled search, way improved navigation for all your app management needs, fully consolidated documentation. So no matter how you choose to build or which SDK you use, you will find help right here. And you'll also find brand new human interface guidelines that will help you build for mixed reality in a way that just feels so natural. Now, the next layer, it's so important, but so hard to roll on your own, is the social layer. Presence, identity, avatars, multiplayer, world building. As Mark said, this is kind of our thing. So I'd like to introduce Igrim, who will talk about all the social fabric that we've built that underpins Horizon OS, and how all of you can build with it, whether you're a developer or a Horizon creator. Igrim.
Social presence, being there with others, is at the center of the Horizon OS platform. And Horizon Worlds is the main piece of that vision. ACE has had a huge range of improvements over the last year. How people discover and experience new worlds have taken big steps forward. And visual quality and performance both got a lot better. Just look at this example of giant paddle mini golf from last year on the left versus how it looks like today on the right. As a result, usage across Horizon has grown fast. It's up 5x compared to last year, and Horizon Worlds is now a top 5 app on Quest 3 in weekly users. Growth like this makes it a great time to be a creator. Some of the most popular Horizon Worlds are the ones made by creators. Including 14 of the top 20. Now that Horizon Worlds works across web, headsets, and mobile, you can reach an even larger audience than ever before. And we believe creators should be able to build a business around successful worlds like this, so we're expanding the ways they can be monetized. For example, in-world purchases launched on mobile in the US this summer, and will be rolling out to more countries where Horizon Worlds is available. We also want to make world building easier for all of you, whether you're just starting out or are an expert builder using our power tools. And AI will unlock the next phase of this development. For world builders, we're already developing Gen AI tools like this. Here, the creator has asked AI to model a generator, animate it to shake, and paint it yellow over rusted metal. All of it just by typing what she wants to make in the creator tool. AI tools will help streamline things like layout, texturing, scripting, sound effects creation. Now, these are all useful by themselves, but once they start working together, you unlock faster ways to transform your ideas into a world. You can already find some of these AI tools in production, like sound effects creation, and we'll be rolling out more in early 2025. Okay, so we talked about the types of spaces we can create in Horizon Worlds. Now let's talk about how people can represent themselves in these spaces. Well, we've been making improvements to our meta avatars over the last few years, but they're still very limited up to today in the number of options they offer for people to truly represent them. And I'm very excited to be launching the next generation of meta avatars coming on October 1st. They work across Meta Horizon OS, as well as Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, and soon WhatsApp. We're introducing new ways for people to adjust everything from physical proportions to fine-tuned details like eye size, nose shape, body shapes, and so much more, including the movement and the expression. And to do this, we rebuilt the entire underlying tech stack. This new framework includes a more detailed avatar skeleton for a richer way to control how avatars move and express, and an expanded set of options to design and fit clothing powered by Gen AI. This gives you more control over how avatars move and interact in your environment. And later in 2025, users will be able to generate a completely new avatar by using our AI-powered editor, by just describing what they want. And we know you will want to also control the capabilities and the types of avatars that show up in your worlds. So this is going to be a great way for avatars to be able to adjust to the environment just as the user is jumping into your world. We're also introducing new forms of fantastical avatars to help supercharge everyone's Horizon experience. You've already seen some examples of these, like fantastical characters like Monsters Kaiju and Kaiju City Showdown. But we're investing in tooling that will enable you to build special characters unique to your worlds. And there will be options for special custom avatars. One I'm personally super excited about is Captain America, that we will be launching ahead of the movie release in February 2025. You'll be able to earn it with completing a quest in Horizon. And I'm just as excited about Doja Cat's iconic Paris Fashion Week look that users will be able to unlock by attending her concert in Music Valley. Making these types of fantastical avatars unlockable for users will be another way for you to make your worlds more exciting and engaging for people. And not only will there be countless ways for people to represent themselves, there will also be more virtual characters to interact with powered by AI. These have already started appearing across Horizon. In Super Rumble, you can now play with non-player character or NPCs in Bot Bash. And in 2025, we'll begin rolling out our NPC creator platform for both scripted and AI-driven NPCs. They can engage in conversations, help people out, and even compete in games. We want you to be able to build what makes the most sense for your worlds. Here's a look at an experience that we're working on with Bobber Bay Fishing, where I'm walking in and talking to an NPC who does not know what I'm about to tell it.
Hey, Finn, I'm Igorim, and this is my friend Greg.
Hey, Igorim and Greg. Nice to meet you. What brings you two to Bobble Bay today?
We're here to catch some fish.
Yeah, where should we start?
Let's see. If you want to reel in something real special, I'd suggest going after the 24K goldfish. Its scales are solid gold, and it glows yellow from within.
That sounds so cool. Thanks, Finn.
See ya.
Whether it's a friendly fishing enthusiast or a fantastically evil boss, you will be able to customize NPCs using our avatar and voice tech, and it's all multiplayer ready. We'll also support world understanding and complex action chaining, so NPCs can be a really rich part of the world you created. So, with better social features, new forms of embodiment, better ways to build new worlds, all of this supercharged by AI, it's a great time to be building for the metaverse. Back over to you, Mark, to talk about the UI that will bring this together.
I really think generative AI in the metaverse, where everything's generated, it's going to be wild. But now I want to leave you with just a foreshadowing, a taste, a soupçon of what we're planning on Horizon OS. Our next iteration takes all that social fabric, that sense of place, that sense of identity, and we're baking it much deeper into the OS. We're crafting a new UI that lets all these parts of the metaverse, mobile apps, immersive apps, creator-built Horizon worlds, all work seamlessly together. Managing your apps will be so much easier than before. And just a click or gesture away, hey, it's the metaverse. You'll leap into worlds, games, but wherever you go, you'll have all your apps with you. Push them into a space or take a panel off the wall, jump into your favorite immersive game, and multitask. Why not watch your favorite streamer crush a Beat Saber level on Expert while you crush it on Expert Plus? Why not? I think it's when we achieve that seamless blend of the old and the new that this new platform, it becomes the new platform. Meanwhile, we'll be here, fanatically working to make it easier for everyone to build, reading all your feedback and threads, and removing all the roadblocks so that you can take your shot on the new, truly open Meta Horizon OS. Next up is Chris to share big news about our AI products and developer tools. Thank you.
All right, I'm very excited to talk to you today about Llama 3.2. This is our most developer-focused release yet. In the past, Llama 1, Llama 2, Llama 3, and 3.1, we've been very focused on model performance, getting to the most intelligent state-of-the-art models, opening them to consumers, and opening them to you. But for this release, we've been burning down the list of what we've heard from all of you need to make your tools better and to take the industry to the next level. Before we do that, I want to talk for a minute about why open source matters so much to us, going back to the beginning. So I started at the company back in 2005. I was our 13th engineer. And Boz, who's sitting right next to me here in this photo, started just a few months afterwards. So at this point, we were 20 engineers supporting 5 million very active college students. And this was in the doldrums of the internet. So the web had boomed and busted, so there was not very much web infrastructure to build on top of. If you were Google or Microsoft or Amazon, you had good infrastructure. But for the rest of us, we were focused on open source. We'd raised about $14 million, so we didn't want to spend money on an expensive deployment of Oracle or .NET, so the LAMP stack was our bread and butter. And I have a lot of fond memories of the early days, but mostly I remember firefighting. It was usually on Monday afternoons, because that was peak load time for the week. It's when the East Coast finished classes and started checking Facebook to see what had happened over the weekend. So Monday afternoon, something would always break. Sometimes it was code we'd written the week before. Sometimes it was a piece of the open source stack that we were exposing to new scale for the first time. Our worst outage in 2006 was several hours, and it was awful. Facebook went hard down. And to make matters worse, our internal tools were not working. So we couldn't even check our code base. We couldn't check email. We were totally busted. So we sent engineers to the data center to plug laptops into servers to see if we could diagnose the problem, only to realize that the problem was on the inside of the office. So we're all walking around, like retracing our steps, trying to figure out what had happened. What did you do that took the site down in the last hour? And somebody finds an Ethernet cord. Somebody had found it and plugged it into the wall, not realizing that it had created a circuit from the wall into itself, which, because of the fragility of our systems in 2006, took Facebook down, took everything down for 3 hours. So we decided we should probably hire an IT team. And also that we would need some good network configuration software to make sure this didn't happen again. But more broadly, we needed to make sure we had A+ infra. And we were going to build on open source. So we were either going to take and harden and scale what was out there, or we were going to build it ourselves, and then we were going to give it away. So this started with Thrift, which is an RPC framework, which is still widely used today. Cassandra, which was our version of Google's Bigtable, but open source. HPHP, which compiled PHP down to C++ so that you could run it more efficiently. At this point, we were the world's largest PHP application. And then Open Compute. We did not want to be the world experts in server architecture. At this point, there were a bunch of startups around. We wanted to enlist the help and support of thousands of other startups and enterprises that were solving similar problems, and Open Compute was born. Facebook scaled into the billions. Mobile happened. We continued to author and contribute a bunch to scaling web infra, as well as create a bunch of tools for developing on mobile, React, React Native, GraphQL, et cetera. In 2013, FAIR was founded, and the commitment was, 1, we were going to open source our models. 2, we were going to open source and publish our papers to the research community. And 3, we were going to publish our tools like PyTorch, which became industry standard for AI development, FAISS, which was a precursor to how most RAG is done today, important computer vision tools like Dino and SAM. And this brings us up to the Llama LLM era that we are in now, where hopefully the continuity of open source for us is now clear. I want to zoom in for a second on SAM 2. We just launched this last month. SAM 2 is the world's best object recognition model. So this makes it really easy to identify and detect objects in images and video. This is useful in a whole bunch of different tools, but we've heard from especially scientists who are using it in profoundly interesting ways, like meteorology. Weather event detection. Folks are starting to use SAM2 to identify images from huge amounts of satellite image and video data to make it more easy to label and understand bad things in weather before they happen. Cell biology. The folks at the BioHub right up here at UCSF have shared with us how much more easily they can now identify cells. So rather than pointing and clicking every single kind of new cell in a translucent fish through like huge amounts of microscopic video data, all that annotation can get done instantly, moving them towards a 3D model of cellular interactions towards their North Star, which is an atlas of every single type of cell, not just in the human body, but in life itself. So these contributions to science are one of the many reasons we're motivated to pursue open source and why the teams who work here on making these models great are motivated to keep going. All right, let's talk about Llama. Mark made the intellectual argument for why we believe open source is good. It's good for developers. You control it. You control the environment. You control the data. You can customize it and make it work for whatever application you have in the way that you need it to. And it's stable. It's not going to change out responses from underneath you as we update the model. No hidden surprises. It's good for us. We know from lots of experience that having tens or hundreds of thousands of people contributing to improvements, hardening these models at every level of the stack, makes our models better and makes our products better. And it's good for the world. We want to live in a world where some of the most important pieces of infrastructure, like AI, can be scrutinized and hardened by cybersecurity experts, by civil society, so that AI can be distributed more evenly and more safely. So we've had very, very, very high hopes for Llama since it was born, and we continue to have our expectations surpassed. There's been over 400 million downloads in not that long. We've done integrations with just about every major cloud provider so that you can do inference wherever it is that you need to. They've told us that between May and July, tokens served doubled and has continued to skyrocket ever since. So it's working. And even more interesting and profound in some ways than this is cost going down. The folks at Andreessen Horowitz shared that for an absolutely massive industry, taking the fundamental cost structure, the fundamental unit of expense, which is serving a token, is inference, down by 2 orders of magnitude in just 2 years is insane. This means that a lot more types of developers can use these models, whether they're big enterprises or whether they're just getting started, and expect the cost structure to continue to go way down. The big guys are using it. Zoom is using it for their note-taking assistant. Spotify is using it for annotating chapters in long podcasts, quite useful. Shopify is using it for their merchant assistant. The breadth of use cases is also really cool. The Mayo Clinic has used Llama to help with radiology. This helps doctors diagnosing and prognosis for complex cases, scour vast amounts of data to make the right decision at the right time. Fundamate is a really good example of applying this in regionally specific ways. So this is a homework and exam prep tool for big African markets, Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, as well as Pakistan. And then you're seeing Replit AI as one of many types of tool that's helping new to coding, new programmers quickly build interactive web apps. The hacker community has been creative here. This guy wanted to make the Llama 405 work on an airplane. So he jerry-rigged 2 MacBook Pros together. Not easy to do, creative and apparently quite useful. And in a true feat of cultural relevance, we discovered that you can get Llama on a SanDisk at a computer supply store. We did it. So here's what we're hearing. Get latency down to as close to 0 as possible. Make it super, super inexpensive, not just for currency, but also for memory and compute. And make it so that I can run this thing on anything. And so the first thing we're announcing is lightweight Llama models. These are Llama models at the 1 billion and 3 billion parameter scale. We've tuned these to be good at the things we've heard you need them to be great at: prompt rewriting, summarization, instruction following, tool use. And they're doing really well. If you look at models similar to these sizes out in the world, these are absolutely among the best at the 3 billion, and you can also see the 1 billion is punching above its weight. This means the device landscape gets a lot more open. You can run an 8 billion on these guys, but for everything smaller, like a phone, and everything else, you're going to want these to continue to get smaller while retaining performance and being really smart. What does an LLM look like on a smart thermostat? I leave that to you all to determine. Next biggest request by far is multimodal. I'd like Llama to be able to interpret any type of media, starting with images. Answer questions, summarize, caption, etc. We've trained this on the largest database of any model of publicly available images. This is at the 90 billion and 11 billion scale. These are basically our 70B and 8B with adapters. They retain the same performance on text, and they're plug and play. So you can take your APIs and just continue using them, except now you can answer questions about images. The data set is incredibly diverse. We're talking about billions of different contributors in terms of authors and captures of these images, so they're very good at localization. They're very good at cultural nuance. Performance numbers are good, again, among the best in the world for models of this size and with these performance characteristics. We've trained them to be really good at the natural world, the first-person world, so landscapes, scenery, cityscapes, as well as the written world, text, charts, PDFs, handwriting, etc. Multimodal introduces new challenges for safety, something we've been spending a ton of time on getting right. To talk to you about that, we're going to have Rashad Allow, who runs our AI safety team, to tell you a little bit more. Come on up, Rashad.
All right. Being able to deploy Llama safely is a top priority we hear from the developer community. Historically, we've supported this by building models with safety in mind from the beginning. So models like the ones we're launching today have already cleared our own standards for responsible release. And as the way people use open source models evolves, the safety approach is evolving with it. We've moved to give developers more control over how they deploy these models responsibly. So while we're still doing a huge amount of work to build a safe model, there's a similar focus on making sure that developers have the tools you need to build your own safety architectures. Obviously, this cannot be a one-size-fits-all. There's a huge range of local laws and regulations. Every industry has unique use cases and unique challenges. Let's take an example. If you're building a customer service chatbot, you probably don't want it to give out medical advice if anybody asks. But on the other hand, imagine you're fine-tuning a model to summarize medical research papers. It will need to be able to generate output that contains a lot of medical content. So to cope with all this, we've built a set of highly configurable tools that you can deploy in a way that makes sense for your own specific context. I'm going to talk about 3 of them today: Llama Guard, Llama Guard Vision, and Prompt Guard. Let's start with Llama Guard. Llama Guard can evaluate both prompts and outputs according to your safety guardrails you own. We first released it last year, and now we have a new 1B model, our smallest to date. It is specifically designed to detect prompt and response pair violations across more than a dozen hazard categories. These categories allow you to enable or disable specific safety policies based on your needs. You can deploy Llama Guard as an output filter at the back of the LLM that you wish to protect. Based on how it classifies prompt response pairs, the system can either provide the model output directly to the user or generate a customized response if the output shouldn't be displayed. This works with our small Llama models, 1B and 3B, that Chris just announced, in both server-side and mobile deployments. Because it's operating in between the user and the model, a tool like this needs to be both very fast and very efficient. The new Llama Guard 1B is a 4-bit quantized and pruned Llama-based model with a footprint smaller than 500 megabytes, half a bit. It can process up to 45 tokens per second on mobile devices. Now, we've trained a new variant of Llama Guard to work with the LLM, the new multimodal LLMs we've released today, Llama Guard Vision. Llama Guard Vision can cover both images and text, as well as text-image pairs. There's a lot of ways an image could be safe on its own, but risky when combined with a certain prompt. Let's take an example. Imagine a picture of a chef's knife or a packet of medicine. These images could have completely different risks depending on what someone is asking about. Given that we're on a big screen, we'll pick a very nice, gentle example here. That way, nobody gets fired. Keep it PG. Here, we see an image of a door lock. Obviously, this will be found on its own. But imagine someone asking, hey, how do I break it open? Llama Guard Vision will evaluate the responses based on that combined text-image pair. And then, if the model generates, for instance, an answer that explains to you very precisely what tool you need to use to pick that lock, this answer will get rejected. However, an answer that declined very politely to help would be considered safe. Llama Guard Vision can quickly evaluate both prompt and outputs, just like Llama Guard, and just like Llama Guard, you can customize the policies it enforces. It's an 11B model that can run on traditional server-class GPUs. Finally, let me introduce you to Prompt Guard. Prompt Guard protects your system against malicious prompts. This can take many forms. I'll give a couple of examples. Prompt injection attacks are designed to ensure that the output of an LLM contains a specific, potentially malicious block of text. This can pose significant risk when an LLM output is exposed to sensitive downstream applications. Another example is a jailbreak attack. Jailbreak attacks are designed to bypass the safety features of your system and cause it to produce unwanted and unpredictable outputs. These type of attacks can be really hard to protect against. So Prompt Guard can classify prompts according to threats like these. You can deploy it as an input filter in front of the LLM you wish to protect. We built Prompt Guard to be fully optimized for this particular task. It's an 86 million parameter, a BERT-based model with 512 bytes of context window. So there's extremely low latency and minimal compute footprint. OK, we'll be sharing a lot more details on all of this in a Llama track later today. Safety tools like these are an essential part of a full stack you need to deploy a modern AI system. But obviously, they are not the only extra pieces you need. So for more on that, I will hand it back to Chris. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Rashad. Last on the list, but definitely not least, is please make this thing simple to use. Luke Bewald is an old friend of mine. He's also the founder and CEO of Weights and Biases. So they're one of the startups that's helping bring folks from testing to deployment of AI systems. The way he put it to me is, you guys are just like throwing these models over the wall. And everybody's doing the same work. Everybody's doing batch inference, synthetic data. Everybody's distilling the models. Everybody's doing evals. Please just make it really simple to get started, and also make these things modular. So to help with that, we're introducing the Llama Stack. The Llama Stack is a set of reference APIs for every component piece of a modern LLM system that's deployed. It's also a bunch of libraries with PyTorch and other development environments to help you get started right away. So everything in the shaded area here will come with a set of simple, stable APIs. Those will allow new developers to get started right away. And for more advanced developers, it's easy to plug and play, move things around, test and deploy modules depending on what's working for you, without needing to change the interfaces. We've partnered with a bunch of folks, both at enterprise scale and for startups, who are ready to help you get using these right away starting today. So there you have it. It's Llama Lightweight, it's Llama Multimodal, and it's the Llama Stack. These, we hope, are going to help make your life a lot easier to build and develop AI tools and to take the industry to the next level. I started studying AI in 2001, which was the Stone Ages of AI. This is before the NVIDIA era, so there was a lot more arcane math involved in AI. And this was right around when we had Stanley in the Stanford AI Lab, 2004, 2005. We had built a car that could drive itself across the Nevada desert. And we'd host these AI mixers back then for anybody at the university or nearby who was interested to learn more or who was excited about AI. And like 20 people would show up. And VR and AR and MR were just a pipe dream back then. And part of what's so interesting about right now is how many of the smartest people in the world, whether developers, whether data scientists, whether entrepreneurs across a huge range of industries, are focused on these tools, taking them seriously, and building amazing things. It's a really good time to be a technologist. Thank you all for spending the morning with us. Thank you for building alongside us. We have a bunch of tracks and workshops for you over the next 2 days. We'll see you out there. Thank you.